आप इन्वेस्टिंग वर्ल्ड में कैसे एंटर हुए थे, एंड इफ यू रिमेंबर व्हाट वाज द फर्स्ट स्टॉक यू इन्वेस्टेड इन एंड हाउ मच मनी डिड यू मेक और लूज इन दैट?
Towards the fag end of my IIT days, from the third year in IIT. The first meaningful stock I bought was Orke, early 80s, mid 80s. I learned a lot in one stock. I think it went up twice or three times or whatever. And I felt like a king at, 20, whatever. But at the end of it, I was, I guess, net break even or slightly up.
What had happened exactly during the Taj attacks, the 26/11 attack? What had happened? Can you just share the story?
Nothing. I mean, the attack began in 9 p.m. at night. I escaped at 4 o'clock. People want a dramatic story. People love to believe that, this is a movie script or something.
Businesses में आपने क्या देखा, क्या breakdown किया? So we also get to know about your mindset before investing.
My first point is that how do you narrow down a subset of 3,000, 4,000 stocks and bring it down to an investable idea that will make you money? And second is, how do you eliminate?
George Soros, and you also met him in person. How was your meeting with him, and what did you learn from him?
His office was no bigger than yours.
What? Seriously?
His table was no bigger than yours. You have one extra chair in your office.
How much weightage would you give to, let's say, numbers and data points?
I follow a different approach. I look at it like blood flow. At the end of the day, अगर कंपनी 10 रुपए पे 2 रुपए कमाने की कैपेसिटी रखती है तो मार्केट कैप बढ़ेगा. एंड वहाँ पे थोड़ा एक स्किल लगता है.
एग्जाम्पल से एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हो? वीडियो देखने से पहले मेरी एक रिक्वेस्ट है आप सबसे. मैं YouTube एनालिटिक्स देख रहा था एंड वहां पर देखा कि 82.6% ऑफ माय ऑडियंस हु इज वाचिंग दिस कंटेंट हैज नॉट सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल. अगर मैंने आपको थोड़ी सी वैल्यू प्रोवाइड की होगी एंड आपको अगर कंटेंट बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, आई रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू प्लीज हिट द सब्सक्राइब बटन सो दैट वी कैन ब्रिंग यू द बेस्ट क्वालिटी ऑफ गेस्ट एंड गिव यू द मैक्सिमम वैल्यू पॉसिबल. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर सब्सक्राइबिंग टू आवर चैनल एंड एंजॉय दिस एंटायर एपिसोड ऑफ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद कुशल. तो सबसे पहले शुरुआत करते हैं कि आप इन्वेस्टिंग वर्ल्ड में कैसे एंटर हुए थे, एंड इफ यू रिमेंबर व्हाट वाज द फर्स्ट स्टॉक you invested in and how much money did you make or lose in that?
Yeah, of course. Firstly, thank you for having me. I started investing when I was, I think towards the fag end of my IIT days. At that time, I had an interest in markets from the third year in IIT. And I guess the first meaningful stock I bought was Orke, who was, he was one of those hot stocks of the, I guess this must be early 80s, mid 80s. So I used to walk up the Bombay Stock Exchange. My broker was on the 7th, 9th, 10th floor or something. And that's how it began. And so, I learned a lot in one stock, I didn't have much money. I was a student. So, but anyway, for my relative net worth, it was a big position. So I remember buying OK, and then I think it went up twice or three times or whatever. So I think it had gone to 180 or 190 or something. And I felt like a king at, 20, whatever. Thought like, man, I'm acing this. And then one day, there was an AGM or some corporate announcement. I forget exactly what it is. And the stock opened down, I don't know, maybe 30, 40, 50% the next day. So I did make a lot. I thought I made money. And then I lost a lot of money. But at the end of it, I was, I guess, net break even or slightly up. So that was my first. Then the second one I tried was where I learned. So the first one I learned that, looking for whole numbers, that, 190 is not good, but 200 is good, and so on and so forth is tragic. Consequences काफी खतरनाक हो सकते हैं. Second one was a value trap. वहाँ समझा कि सस्ता लेके धारावी में चौल लेके कोई मतलब नहीं है. So I bought Kelvinator India or something. Kelvinator India, yeah, I remember. It was bloody cheap, $17, $7 or $17, like 2 times P and so on. So it never made you money. So those are the first two I bought for myself, and so yeah, that's how it began. But it really began with me deciding that I want to be an investor. I don't know where this came from. Like, you became a podcaster. I don't know. I mean, I was a nerd. I was in chemical engineering. I was like, so we were only three of us in our batch who wanted to pursue what would be an MBA course. So I was one of those three. And so, it's basically either it's madness or it is your destiny. I don't know what to say. And I wanted to be on New York. I wanted to be on Wall Street. So those were my sort of. I think that time also India was a different India. I think 80s was, I would say, the bottom of the sort of cycle, economic, not the psychological cycle. I think not many jobs even for IITians, and so I mean, I think during our time, even 70-80% of the students would have gone abroad. So I thought, chalo, Wall Street to jayenge. So I went to NYU, and as luck would have it, I I did okay. I got into NYU, and so then from there on, life took over. So that's how it all started.
So NYU's turn, say when you graduated from your MBA, then you took like that. The first job that you took was at JP Morgan, right?
Yeah,
After
Morgan
NYU.
Stanley. Yes.
Yeah,
Morgan
at Morgan Stanley, and then at Morgan Stanley. So till 2001, you worked at Morgan Stanley.
Yes.
And in this span of 11 years at Morgan Stanley,
11-12 years.
राइट सो ये जो 12 साल का पूरा आपका एक्सपीरियंस था ऑफ मॉर्गन स्टैनली, आप प्रीवियस पॉडकास्ट में आपने ऐसे बताया था दैट मॉर्गन स्टैनली वाज मोर लाइक अ यूनिवर्सिटी एंड it taught you a lot of things and you were very happy enough to get a salary, get money over there like for like being taught in a university. तो क्या पूरा एक्सपीरियंस रहा, एंड you were one of the youngest fund managers there, तो कैसा पूरा जर्नी रहा वो 11-12 years का?
I think it was great. I think it was extended university. You learned every day. Markets you learn every day. So there we had many more. So one thing was to manage your own money, then take institutional, all the institutions of the world in it. So I think it was fantastic. It was, I would say, it was education. Every day you learned a lot. And to get paid was a bonus. And to get paid a bonus was like, heaven sent. So वही था. So I recommend also youngsters ki, focus on richness of experience in your focusing on salary and income to start with as a precondition to your career is not such a good idea. It's better to dig a deep well and understand a subject well. So when I went into money management in Morgan Stanley, it was totally unfashionable. So money management, I mean, like, so it was the sort of the sleepy end of Wall Street. So M&A, investment banking, trading, ये वो सब fashion में था. So very often doing the unfashionable thing also is not such a bad idea.
And then in those 12 years, do you recall like the most memorable incident or something like that really changed the perspective, the way you look at the markets in those 12 years? Not any one event. So many things happened. I mean, rupee devaluation, then Harshad Mehta, then, Rajiv Gandhi dying. I mean, the 90s was a momentous period in that sense. So I don't think there was any one event which was seminal. But what became seminal clearly is that you have to believe in your own inner compass and your own intuition. वो clear हो गया. तो दुनिया भर के सभी लोग बहुत रिसर्च रिपोर्ट पढ़ लिया, बहुत लोग को मिले, बहुत इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट को मिले, many companies को मिले, सब मिले. But at the end of the day, what worked is that you had decided that you listen to your inner voice only. उसके आगे किसका सुनना नहीं. In terms of decision making, investments, तो वो
that I think got reaffirmed that, you began your life. So, there are many roads. One is you can have many advisors, you can have many parents, lots of advice in families. The other is sometimes it's better not to have, is to go by your own intuition. So that's the path I took all my life. So I think the one thing I learned in those 12 years after butting brains with the best is key boss, your intuition is your intuition. And that is unmatched. So just that. So you have to learn. You have to learn what works for you. So I'm not saying this is the only path. There are people who believe in momentum. There are people who believe in many other ways to life. ऐसा नहीं है कि. So you have to figure out what works for you and what आप आराम से कहाँ सो सकते हो. You have to follow a path of investing where you know when you can sleep well at night. So at least that was important for me. So drama, unnecessary drama for no upside is not my game. Drama होगा तो 10 times money बनने चाहिए, तो छोड़ो ना.
So at what age did you join Morgan Stanley, and when did you become the MD of Morgan Stanley India?
Good question. You're testing my memory now. So I think I must have joined at 26 or 27.
Okay.
And I was an MD, I think. 4 years later, I think.
Wow. At 30, 31.
I think so, yeah.
Wow. So you would be like the youngest, youngest MD of that, right?
I don't know. No idea.
Wow. How was that conversation? Do you remember, like, when you were asked to be the MD, or when you were asked to set up the India office? How was that conversation?
It was it was great. I mean, I was told, here's your desk. But start. Jump into the deep end.
You didn't feel as if ये बहुत बड़ा responsibility आ गया at a very young age, something of that sort?
That's the beauty of being young. Madness and aggression is not an issue. So अभी बोलेगा तो लगेगा, डर लगेगा कि अरे बड़ा responsibility है, मेरा क्या होगा, मेरा ये क्या होगा. When not at all. In fact, your inner. I always tell people begin young. Don't spend too much time in academia and become 28 and then think life will happen. Okay. So if you can start at 18, you should. And so if you say I should have started investing at the age of 15. And that became clear to me when I was in IIT. In the first or second, in today's environment, I could have conceived dropping out. But in that era, and to drop out of IIT would be like, the heavens would have fallen on your head. So
if you would have been studying today, you would have considered dropping out.
Absolutely. If I was studying today, I think I learned the entire history of the East India Company through Perplexity in 2 hours. Because, in fact, I think today is a crazy age. I think it's an insane age. So where I could track East India Company's stock price and events in India for 1600 till 1860. Decade by decade, 5 years by 5 years. It was better than watching a movie. Because, and it's better than reading a book on East India Company, because that would have taken me days. Okay. Here I'm just asking pointed questions, getting pointed answers. And I'm just like digging. And so then, so the point is that it's an insane age to be, education and university, I always had a bit of a jaded view, but today you're limited by your questioning. You're limited by your insight. So I remember this, people say that it'll make you lazy, all of that. हमारे ज़माने में तो वही था. We were not allowed to use calculators at IIT. तो आपके previous boss को पूछ लो. So we had to have log tables. तो log tables में क्या है, पता नहीं क्यों. I guess they wanted to build character कि आपको brain soft हो जाएगा. So I don't know whether you ever held a log table. Your generation probably never did. You've not even heard of log tables. So log tables was a crazy way of calculating large numbers and divisions and all of that. But it was a painful waste of, I would say, 25% to 30% of our test time was log tables. Okay, you could have solved the problem. You were solving the calculation. So I think today is the same thing in a way. I think lot of the so me reading a book on East India companies like the log table. Me doing it on Perplexity is like using a calculator. You see, so I can go rapidly into. So I figured that every time East India Company expanded acreage in India, its stock price went up. Okay, so that explains why they were expanding acreage in India. Okay, so but it also told you many things. Very insightful, I thought. I mean, I don't know. That finally it went bust. And but we live in this age of 10 baggers, or at least we brag about 10 baggers, correct? No, I think in those 3 centuries, I think East India Company probably went up only 4 times. Or I mean, I have to do more work. I mean, my work is in process. There's only so much you can pick up in one session, but isn't that it was a multi-bagger of monumental proportions. It was the largest market cap of its time. Somewhere in the interim, somewhere 1700 something. So, but coming to your point, university, I mean, I don't have to take a history class in University of Bombay now to study East India Company. Nor do I have to write a PhD. So it's quite amazing. It's an amazing world. So earlier you start, the better.
Yeah.
I think the risk in today's age is obsolescence at 40. In the traditional way of, if you look at life traditionally, which is, you go to college, you just get a degree and you think you have a career. I don't think so. So
can you elaborate on this statement? This is a very nice one. The risk in today's world is the obsolescence at the age of 40.
Yeah. I think you're obsolete as you leave college. Because, I mean, nothing wrong with college. I'm not saying college is wrong. But we were just talking before the show began about the Perplexity CEO. Since he was an electrical engineer, he learned much of coding self-learned. So that explains it. And so there's today the entry barriers have dropped. In the sense, if I want to study a subject, any subject I can. And this is on global scale. It isn't that this opportunity is only available to you and me. It's available to your maidservant's son also. Okay. And to your boss's son also. So the game is leveling out. So very few cricketers' children have also made it to the test team. Same is going to happen in the real world. Kapil Dev came from some village in Haryana, then Dhoni came. So that's what's going to happen in our business, every business. So that's what I mean by obsolescence in the traditional sense at 40.
Right.
So, but if you're with the flow, you're probably current even at 80. So Ajit Dowala, NSA is 82. So it isn't that if you have that learning attitude, I think you'll be very current at any age. So I think India's also, I think one of the top lawyers of the government, I think he's 80 something from Kerala. I forget his name. So, but I think in a typical career, yes.
Yeah.
I think so. Today I feel AI can do the job of 10 MBAs for me. So yeah. So just an MBA degree is you think you'd pay that guy 100,000. I probably my monthly bill on AI will be my driver's cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're also living in a deflationary world in that sense. So
Yeah.
everything that cost you X amount. So to do this podcast in this room would have been unthinkable, say 25 years ago, because I remember going to the Times of India building, which was sitting there like a giant, and so on and so forth. So life things are. I think we're in a disinflationary age in that sense.
I won't be surprised if in the future, let's say, if I want to do a podcast with someone, there are just like answers which are written from the guest, questions from me, and a proper AI version, AI avatars of both the guest and the host will be created, and a podcast will be released without the interference of me and the guest. This can also happen. I
Yeah,
don't know.
this can happen. But I think what will happen in this age is your sharpening of your question will be the differentiator.
Yeah.
You see,
Right.
so
But a lot of good tools have also come up for that as well. Like
it?
for example, I use Google Gemini Pro. Okay, and there's a deep research
Yeah.
section there, and you'll be surprised, by the way. So I'll show you, because we are talking on that. So this is the report that it generated about you. Okay, I asked about you, and it gave me a 21 pages document.
That's amazing.
Okay, so this is all about your history, and it has mentioned all your quotes. This is your portfolio, the investments that you have. So everything it has like generated, and for everything that is mentioned here, it has the source also, like from where it has been taken. So I think these AI tools, or maybe like a lot of these upcoming tools are coming up where they are helping a lot of people in like some or the other manner. I had a research intern whose job was to make this. It used to take him like around 1.5 to 2 days to come up with all these things. And if you see, there are like 29 sources. So it has also taken all your sources. So icons with Ramesh Damani, this is the NDTV profit video and all. So this 2 days ka job is done in 10 minutes.
That's what I mean.
I mean, this is how AI is just coming up.
No, it is.
Yeah.
So I think it can exhaust the student, the questioner. It can keep giving you feedback very.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's very exciting actually. Yeah. If 2 days work gets done in a. Yeah.
I read this beautiful quote, because you're talking about the learning attitude and the age. There was a quote where I read, once a person's learning attitude ends, their old age starts to begin. So basically, as far as you have the learning attitude, you will never be old as a person. Yeah. So I resonate with that when you said about the age and learning attitude.
I think ageless, and the evidence of that is when you have friends who are 20 years old also, 30 years old also, and 80 years old also. When everyone is that's some reaffirmation that you probably have a learning attitude. So everyone's, there's something you can associate with everyone.
Yeah. Let's also talk about your best and worst investments as well. So now this segment I want to focus more on the mindset before investing in a company. So इसमें हमको ये जानना है कि आप मतलब एक कंपनी के इन्वेस्ट करने के पहले क्या क्या देखते हो, फैक्टर्स क्या एनालाइज करते हो, एटसेट्रा. So before we get into there, what has been your best and worst investment so far in your career?
I've never looked at life that way. So I'm wedded to my process and playing the game rather than the score of the game. So I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what I would say is my best investment, and I also have conscious forgetting. So I move on. So it isn't that I liked HDFC, so I'm like stuck to that experience. Yeah, conscious forgetting. Every day is a new day. You can't live in the past. तो वैसे सोचता ही नहीं हूँ कि so I think every day there's a learning. Every day थप्पड़ पड़ता है in the market. Then every day you can also be a happy guy. Both can happen. So I think in the market, if you look, how do I say it? I mean, if you as a cricketer decide that I want to score a century, and that's why I'm playing cricket, I think you will get out. I mean, if you're just with the flow, you might hit a triple century if you're with the flow. So I think my mindset is fundamentally different that way. So I mean, I prefer to be in the flow rather than be very driven by outcomes. And so there's no miserable investment that I'm like breaking my head on, all the time. Nor am I very elated by something where it went up 50 times, 100 times, or whatever. So both, uh, that is not going to help you today. And when you're in that state of flow, you'll be a happy guy. You'll be a happy guy, and you might even get better at what you do.
तो इसमें सर फिर जैसे कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट्स की अगर आप बात कर सकते हो कि कौन से कंपनीज में आपने इनिशियल सक्सेसेस देखी, एंड व्हाट आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड इज कि इसके बिजनेसेस में आपने क्या देखा, क्या ब्रेकडाउन किया, सो वी आल्सो गेट टू नो अबाउट योर माइंडसेट बिफोर इन्वेस्टिंग.
Yeah. So my first point is that you should not climb a mountain because it is there. तो ये नहीं है कि एक स्टॉक आ गया तो उसमें 10 घंटा लगा दूं, and there are thousands and thousands of stocks. You will get tired and exhausted and underperform before you find. So the clear challenge market में तो यही है कि needle in the haystack का theory है. How do you narrow down a subset of 3,000, 4,000 stocks and bring it down to an investable idea that will make you money? So that's the skill you have to decide. कि कहाँ पे you have to have some model as to what makes money first. And second is how do you eliminate? How do you eliminate? And so then your pure mind can focus on the core. So वो बड़ा important है. How do you filter and eliminate unnecessary, just overreading analyst reports, overreading, कुछ नहीं होने वाला, कुछ लास्ट डिजिट पढ़ के भी नहीं होगा. तो आपका कुछ इंसाइट आने चाहिए आपको from some source. So it can be either your personal experience. You went to a Zudio store, you saw, it's working. Some personal. So for instance, Amazon, I was probably one of the early customers of Amazon's in early 90s when they started, and it was clearly a superior experience. So something. So आपको कोई तो you need a lever in terms of something that offers insight. Then entry point. Is not how much ever homework you do. If something is priced at 100 times P, is not going to make you money. So one is valuation, the other is sentiment on the stock. So I don't think the formula repeats, and each situation is broadly different. Although there are commonalities. Commonality ये है कि you need a delta. You need a serious delta for you to spend time on a stock, invest in it, take a significant stake and sit on it. And वो delta will have a few common components. एक होगा कि downside risk कम है. ठीक है. नहीं भी बना तो it's not that you're going to fall off the Grand Canyon, So you try to get in at the ground floor level. So at least that works for me. I'm not saying it'll work for everyone. So I like to be early in the game. I like to be the first person in. If there are 10 institutions already and 10 speculators already in the stock, for me, that is already eliminated. It's like, it might do well, also doesn't. It doesn't work for me. So the ability to firstly eliminate and clarify and reduce your radar to digging a few deep wells rather than scattering and getting caught by too many things is the art. तो उसके लिए patience लगता है. So I think you should cultivate patience because you're lucky if you get a very good idea twice a year maybe. If you're lucky 3 times a year. There might be some years which may be different, and there may be some years you'll get none. So patience होनी चाहिए. And एक है कि you should act only when you feel कि you potentially have a 5 bag or 10 bag or something excites you, you act. Don't act because you want to feel you're impatient because you have $100 million in the bank. You have to do something. वो नहीं करना. So be comfortable sitting on cash. Be comfortable not acting. Be comfortable working through the day and having taken no decisions. But the day when something really shows up, you have to be fresh enough, ready enough that you can act. So वो एक mindset goes through. I think understanding the mindset that drives your stock process is very important. So when you limit yourself to say कि ये quarter में मुझे I have to outperform every month, every quarter, every year, or also you might miss out on. So I remember we owned HDFC for many years. It underperformed. ऐसा नहीं है कि it did not. Every stock underperforms for many years. You know, we think otherwise, but it does. So what's up? So how do you? So suddenly time feels very stretched. You know, you feel you bought the right stock. So I remember we owned a lot of these stocks, and there were common questions sometimes in the board of directors meetings that I mean, shouldn't you have put money into some fixed income because you own a large component of a stock which didn't move for 2-3 years. And then moved. So, for instance, there was a recent small cap company that we bought. I think last decade, Yuken India. We accumulated a reasonable position, and for years, when we started at 8 rupees or 10 rupees, then it sort of went to 60 or 70. Then वहाँ पड़ा रहा 2-3 साल. फिर 100, I think 100, 120, 150 में पड़ा रहा 2-3 साल. फिर 400 पे तो शायद around 400 levels it probably stuck for 6-7 years maybe. And then in one quarter it went from 400 to 1600. Then there was a bonus and so on and so forth. Now it's still 1200. So you have to understand the fundamental non-linearity of time. Samjha? The problem with linear education, linear salary, monthly salary, लग रहा है कि मैं खाना खाया तो मेरा वेट बढ़ा, मैं काम किया तो पैसा बना. ऐसा है ना? मार्केट में उल्टा है. आप कितना भी मेहनत करो, you're living in an absolute famine or an absolute flood that will blow your mind. Okay. So you can ask कि could you have time when a Yuken is going for 400 to 1600? I don't think so. So, but to have bought at 8, to have bought at 60, to have bought at 160, have bought at 260, bought at 360, bought at 400, bought at 450. When वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी. वो गाना सुना है? तो वही है. तो उसके लिए at the end of the day you need inner courage. You have to have वो है. मार्केट दोनों नहीं देगा कि आपको रिटर्न भी देगा और आपके वक्त के हिसाब से देगा. One of the two देगा. आपको रिटर्न चाहिए तो वक्त is the credit card you have to give, okay, for checking into that hotel of return. समझा? हाँ. जैसे आप ताज में ठहरते हो ना, कुछ दे देते हो ना, आप यूपीआई कार्ड जो भी कार्ड देते हो. You want high returns, तो आपको कार्ड ऑफ टाइम उनके हाथ पे, मार्केट के हाथ में देना पड़ता है. वो कभी देगा भूल नहीं सकता.
Right.
So, but then it happens non-linear. It happens. One day the world looks different. I mean, overnight. So, वैसा ही है.
So ये स्टॉक में आपने 10 पे इन्वेस्ट किया था, अभी it's at 1200.
No, there are bonuses and so on. So the average,
okay.
we started, that time equity was 3 crores, now it's 12 crores. So I would say the equivalent of today's price, probably we started at 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 2 rupees.
Got it.
And it's still, and the amazing thing is, even now, you can build a strong investment case for it being investable even now. it is. I mean,
the current market price is 1200.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't
wow.
talk about personal stocks,
Yeah.
but I'm saying how sometimes a stock can go up a lot and still be cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the magic of of discipline. But it's impossible for people to hold it.
Yeah, correct.
नहीं होगा.
So in a span of how many years this would be?
2004 to 2024. So
Okay.
it went to 1200 about 2017. So 2000, I would say the story is from 2004 to 2017.
Okay. So 13
After 17
years.
has been more or less linear. Yeah. So वही है, राम का भी 14 साल होता है, तो वनवास सभी का है, विष्णु अवतार का भी वनवास होता है, तो हमारा क्या है? तो एक बार आप वो एटीट्यूड लेके चलोगे तो आप मार्केट में अच्छा करोगे. सी फाइनली यू गेट पेड फॉर पेन एंड पेशेंस इन मार्केट्स. बाकी सब आप कितने भी आप सीए पढ़ो, कुछ भी करो, ओके, कितना भी कुछ भी करके देखो, फाइनली यू गेट पेड फॉर पेन एंड पेशेंस. ओके, अगर आप हंसते रहते हो पेन में भी एंड यू आर पेशेंट, तो फिर एक दिन तो, एंड इफ यू हैव अ सर्टेन डिसिप्लिन, तो फिर you can't go wrong. But impossible, those are almost, it's hard to ask for many people to have that discipline. So it's fundamentally investing is not for the masses.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a minorities game. It's difficult because you also have most people will have another career. Markets aren't the only thing they're doing. So it'll be a doctor, it'll be an engineer, it'll be something. So
ये जो 13 years में, then this is equivalent, अगर आप 2 बोल रहे हो तो almost it's a 600x, right? In 13 years.
Probably.
This would be like the
you can
best
think like
one.
that, yeah.
Wow. There must be a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there are whole years where it began at 60 and it closed at 60. So आप बैठे, आपका रिसर्च है, आप सोचते आप जीनियस हो, सब है, खाली आप ही सोच रहे हो ऐसा, समझा? तो फिर आप इफ यू कैन सर्वाइव दैट वनवास तो ठीक है, आप भी 600 बनाओगे, बट वो पेन एंड प्लेजर का
सर्वाइव करना डिफिकल्ट.
पेन एंड प्लेजर इज द.
तो सर इसमें थोड़ा फ्रेमवर्क बता सकते हो कि आपने जब 2004 में आइडेंटिफाई किया ये, तो आपने क्या देखा, अभी आपके क्या थीसिस है, लाइक व्हाट आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आप कैसे कंपनी को इवैल्यूएट करते हो.
When I first met the company, I thought it was great. The promoter was a fabulous. He's still active.
एक बार briefly बस explain करोगे business model and all.
So since we just happened to speak about Yuken is a leading engineering company in a small niche. It's actually a Japanese multinational. It makes it is a small business, but it has significant dominance in its areas of expertise, and it does a critical business. So business is okay. Business is solid. It's a globally well recognized engineering company of good standing. So when we invested in 2004, so I went to visit the plant. I thought the management was good. The plant was decent. They had many acres of land in sort of what today would be the heart of Bangalore. Those days was sort of not the heart of Bangalore, but was getting there. And so I went there, I saw all that. But at the end of the day, I saw that the stock price is 8. And the market cap of the company is 2.5 crores. Okay, 3 crore capital, great management, Japanese multinational, reasonable business. Not, I was scratching my head, downside kya hai? Okay, so the other reason to invest is कि अगर आपको बहुत IQ लगाना पड़ा तो पैसा खोएगा. Okay, if you're smashed out of your brain or you got up at 3 in the morning and you can still say the investment thesis out clearly, तो शायद पैसा बनेगा. Okay, so I saw all this and I said, So at some point I zoned out. I said like, ठीक है. I mean, at the end of the day, entry point क्या? Okay. Entry point क्या? कुछ नहीं है. So now it looks hard to believe that ऐसा trade क्यों होता है. आज भी ऐसा होता है. Every stage में stocks go through a period of neglect. So we bought. So then it went to 60 also. The market cap was what? 50 crores, 54 crores. We bought. 100 रुपए में भी क्या है? कुछ नहीं है. We bought. So, sorry, 100 रुपए में 30 crores market cap. 60. I got 1 0 wrong. So at 200 also it looked cheap to me. It looked cheap to me at 400 also. At 400 was 120 crore market. तो क्या problem क्या है? You see. But the great mystery in this intelligent world of highly qualified people and everything is that we suffer from amnesia. अपने को lateral vision नहीं है. तो सभी को हिंदुस्तान लीवर लेना है, P100 पी में ये लेना है, लो, लेने में कोई तकलीफ नहीं है. हार्ड अर्न मनी है. तो we would rather do homework and do the unfashionable thing. This pattern repeats. So basically the human, this pattern is never ending also. Okay. तो ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि ये अभी भी नहीं रिपीट हो रहा है, अभी भी ऐसा ही हो रहा है, वो ऐसा ही होते रहा. So there's a slope of psychology, what I call. Okay. Slope of psychology, which is, psychology is a pendulum that floats left, right, extreme, euphoria, extreme, वो pendulum घूमते रहता है. And then there's a one point in the pendulum which is forgotten. You're not only not cheap anymore, but you're forgotten. Now धोबी का ना घाट का. Okay. So this is Soros का बड़ा famous line है कि buy a stock not because it's cheap, but because it's forgotten. वो बोला था. I've never forgotten that. Okay. कि बाकी सब आप प्रिंसिपल लगाओ बट भूल गए क्या लोग, पूरा खत्म हो गया स्टोरी. तो ठीक है, तभी लो. तभी तो HDFC 2P में भी मिल रहा था. मिलता है हर 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 युग में एक पॉडकास्टर पैदा होता है. एक स्टॉक 2P में मिलता है, एक स्टॉक 200P में मिलता है. वो योग किसमें है, योग वशिष्ठा, एक इज द लेक्चर नोट्स ऑफ राम्स एजुकेशन. तो उसमें इट्स वर्थ रीडिंग बाय द वे. सो राम के लेक्चर नोट्स है, तो उसमें एक लाइक आप हर पॉडकास्ट करते हो तो देयर आर each lesson is like a podcast, or it's a story, or it is a something to watch, okay, or read, or whatever you may want to say. So there is a character called Basunda who lands up in that book. He's depicted as a crow. He has survived, I forget the number, 13 complete annihilations of the entire universe. Okay, so he converses with Ram. He says, I've seen you in every yuga. This is the 13th time I'm seeing you. Okay. मार्केट में भी वैसा ही. आपको सिमिलर सिचुएशन आते रहेंगे, आते रहेंगे, आते रहेंगे. So you have to look for situations where you have a very good. बोलने की बात ये है कि look for situations where downside is so bloody limited कि अब ले लो. बिजनेस को देखो रियल है कि नहीं, उसका साइकोलॉजी देखो, इज इट अंडर ओन्ड, ओवर ओन्ड, क्या है, सब भूल ही गए. तो it becomes high on your radar, you see. And when there are thousands of ideas and thousands of stocks globally, there will be amnesia in various corners, because we follow a herd pattern. And I think social media has made stock investing easier because everyone jumps onto instant judgment and instant reaction now. एक ज़माने में वक्त तो लगता था, बैलेंस शीट आता था एक साल के बाद, वो सब. Today everything is instantaneous information given to everyone. So the pressure of the crowd is higher today. So volatility will therefore be higher. But investments will also be relatively easier, I think. If you so the idea was to tell you that you have to find something in a story which is like brain dead obvious if you're rational about it. Okay, if you're clouded by what the market is saying, possibly it is wrong. तो अभी अगर HDFC 2 PE में तो खराब क्या है, डाउनसाइड क्या देगा, तो ज्यादा बेजा लगाने की जरूरत नहीं कि पूरा बी स्टडी करो, फिर दीपक पारेख को मिलो, फिर उसके बाद उसके साथ 3 घंटे का पॉडकास्ट करो, कुछ जरूरत नहीं है. समझा? अगर मुझे मिलना पड़ा बहुत, आई एम स्कैर्ड. That means the thesis is not going to work.
Oh.
That means I'm forcing a square into a circle. I'm out to prove my thesis rather than whether I want to make money. So in a lot of my investments, I've hardly met the promoters 3-4 times. I consciously stay away because I don't want to be bad. I would have lost money only when I'm close to a promoter.
Okay.
ये याद रखना कि बहुत मिलके आपको इम्प्रूव होगा, वैसा नहीं है. Because आप promoters को मिलते जाओगे तो you will either fall in love with them or you will hate them. It's like going on a date with an average looking woman. One of the two will happen. Okay. तो वही है इन्वेस्टमेंट. कुछ ज्यादा फर्क नहीं है, समझा? तो कहाँ मिलती जाके फंस जाओगे, शादी कर लोगे, मरोगे. I'm sorry for sounding. I'm saying it as a joke. Okay?
I'm loving it.
So that your listeners get the point.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a big danger with hanging out with an average company.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
हाँ, कि आप मिलते जाओ तो आपको अच्छा लगने लगा, और आपने कन्विंस कर लिया कि अरे मैं तो सीए हूँ, सब नंबर्स देखो कितना अच्छा है. This self reinforcement is the biggest danger. समझा? तो ज्यादा मिलने नहीं चाहिए, ज्यादा मिलने चाहिए. बिकॉज बेसिकली हमेशा याद रखो कि प्रमोटर इज a borderline schizophrenic. Why would you take thousands of crores of debt? Why would you set up all this? Because you obviously are a visionary. But if you have schizos as friends, I do. Even they sound like visionaries sometimes. Okay. So there's a fine line. So many of the loans that went bad, they managed to get 4,000 crores out of banks and 10,000 crores out of banks, right? So they have hypnotic control over their narrative. So someone will part with money, correct? So the odds are you'll also be affected with your money. समझा? तो अगर आप सोच रहे हो कि आपका पैसा बनेगा बिकॉज आप प्रमोटर के क्लोज हो, नहीं. मेरा व्यू कॉन्ट्रेरियन व्यू है. लॉट्स ऑफ पीपल बिलीव कि नहीं होने चाहिए, खबरी होने चाहिए. आई डोंट बिलीव दैट. So I consciously don't send a Diwali card to anyone. I don't attend any of the sons and daughters' weddings. I don't want to. Because you as an investor, you have a right to sell also. So you're more like a judge or what you call a surgeon or something. You just have to do the job. The patient can die. I don't have to go to the patient's. So it's just you buy, that means you have decided that you will sell also.
Yeah.
Correct, same day. Same day, दोनों decision होता है.
You don't want to get attached to the story.
Correct.
And all, right?
Correct.
That's the reason.
More importantly, your discipline will go. Yeah. Because then you will become you'll get swayed by the social hoo-ha of your business. You can easily be flying high. You'll be invited to every party. Can be. So I learned that early. When I was 26, I won't mention name of industrialist. I attended 1 and 2 year birthday parties of the kids, and I said, like, what the hell am I doing? My mother shouted at me and said, like, what's wrong with you? So she woke me up. I think, yeah. So you can get busy very easily.
Why did she shout on you?
Because my mother was actually, I think I got some of my investment skills from her. She just didn't want me to get close to
Okay.
all the because she was clear that they will spoil your thinking, thought process. You know, so she was right. So and fundamentally, why should a 28-year-old go to a 1-year-old's birthday party? Man? Tell me. I mean, like, you know, huh?
Yeah.
I
Fair.
mean, why should I attend your grandson's wedding? Okay, I'd be like a great grandfather, right? So some things have to be done within that age bracket. I mean, your birthday party should have kids, man.
Yeah.
I mean, why should a money manager be in a bloody 1-year birthday party?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. But you see many industrialist birthday parties and marriages and all. I mean, you know, you see what happens. So it's better to be, as a money manager, be disciplined to you have to figure out what are you up. Firstly, you have to be clear about your goals. Your goal is to make money. Okay. Be all and end all. Okay. You want to add then filters to it. You want to do good for the country? Yes. You should invest. You don't want to invest in sin stocks. You don't want to invest in cigarette companies, liquor. All that again. Ethical investing. All that is fine. But it's easy to get swayed into this. So I would say that an investment should look good blindly. I don't need to meet. Meeting is an affirmation. It's just to reaffirm what you suspect, or to just get a DNA check on the guy. That's all. You know, basically whether. So I really go and meet promoters to ask them what is the last decimal point of your, of your sales pipeline and ye kya hoga. I've never asked a question ki tumhare ye quarter mein kya hoga.
So what kind of questions would you ask?
I would go blank. I would listen. I would not ask much.
Okay.
Because I am trying to get to figure out the DNA of the guy. Okay. वो जो business है तो see, every business is not after. I've understood quantum mechanics also. To understand a business, a motorcycle business, engineering, it's all easy. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Business में कोई ऐसा कुछ innate complication नहीं है. But getting the promoter right, his characteristics right is important. His discipline, his financial discipline, how he treats his people around him, how clean and neat the office is, how ostentatious it is. All these small things will tell you something about.
You also visit the washroom of every company.
Yeah,
right?
I want to tell that. I kept shut this time, but I do.
And why? Like,
because it tells you. I mean, it's very easy to keep the living room clean and be a mess inside, no?
Okay.
And so if there'll be a guest bathroom, there'll be a director's bathroom, and there'll be ordinary bathroom. I'll go to the ordinary bathroom.
Okay.
Because that tells me how you actually are. Guest bathroom में आपको दिखाना है. Director's bathroom में तू सेठ है ना. तू तो तेरा बात ही और है. हाँ तो ठीक है. Everything tells you something. So once I remember going to an industrialist who I'd gone for a 10 o'clock meeting, and he said, so what is the big name? Okay, he said, so what would you like? Tea, coffee, like you offered tea and coffee. He said, or champagne. I said, champagne. Okay. Just want to call his bluff. साला 10 बजे इसको champagne का याद आ रहा है. तो लाया champagne. I don't drink. But I just but they told me everything about so those are more important than to go with a bunch of questions in your head कि मुझे पूछना है उसको कि उसका competition में क्या होगा और उसका debt equity 0.2 से 0.25 होगा तो क्या होगा. मेरे को क्या लेना है. That there are enough CAs to do that. Sorry. I'm not. I'm just having fun, okay?
Yeah.
So nothing personal, okay? So it is. So the question, like you did homework on me. I did no homework on you. Okay. That's my style of working, which is to not do So I'll just meet without. But I look for situations where it is obvious. I don't need to meet someone to make a decision. So go for the lowest hanging fruit. Don't don't look for exotica. Very often, good things are all around you. You don't have to uh, go too detailed. Later on, you can do all of that, but an elaborate project research approach to go with all guns blazing into one stock and trying to understand every number is not helpful in terms of making money. I'm not saying it's harmful. Someone in the organization should do that. I'm not saying no. But broadly, basically apply simple rules. I think if you can't understand a balance sheet within 5 minutes, drop it. If something is too I remember GE was the largest market cap company in the world. I remember reading its balance sheet one day, and this is 90s, I think, sometime. Yeah. And I saw that bulk of its money was being made in GE Capital, its subsidiary. And GE had a AAA bond rating. And GE Capital had a debt equity of 9:1 or 12:1.
9 is 12 is to
Some
1.
insane.
Oh my God.
So basically, they were arbitraging on the AAA bond over borrowing in GE Capital, making money through the lending sort of business, and become the largest market cap company in the world. This was obvious if you wanted to read the balance sheet. But this is a 5-minute read of the balance sheet. You don't need to know much more. So very often you'll have a situation should be obvious. If there is a turning point in a story, it should be obvious in, okay, chalo 15 minute lagao. 5 minutes I'm saying to make a point. But let's say in 15 minutes you'll get a good idea whether something reads very neat and clean and clear. It tells you there's a distilled mind at it. There's distilled. See, finally, an annual report is a report card on human endeavor, on a group of people, a group of management, promoter, and employees. Their collective effort is the balance sheet. A crystal clear balance sheet also tells you something about the state of that team. A complicated balance sheet tells you, is your first alert that so very often promoters will ask the same question twice or 3 times, and if I still don't get it, I will I won't. I'll ask the second time because I could have been sleeping, maybe he's much smarter than me, of course, but उसके बाद भी नहीं समझता है तो नहीं, it can't be. So your ability to see things for what they are is very important first. And then you have to see what is in the price. How much of it is discounted in the price and how much is not in the price. So every story is different, but every story at the end of the day has some commonalities in the sense that there has to be some distortion in the way it is being perceived as vis-a-vis how you are perceiving it. And what you are perceiving is backed by data, not by your ideology. पी दो है तो है दो, सीधी बात है. It is not कि मैं सपना देख रहा हूँ. So being rooted in reality, seeing a vastly different perception that people have, I think these are some of the common characteristics for almost in many investment theses.
But how much weightage would you give to, let's say, numbers and data points of that company when you decide? So, for example, if we take Yuken's example itself, so numbers आप क्या देखोगे, कितना weightage दोगे, and then how do you decide?
I follow a different approach. I have a different way of thinking about numbers. I don't look at it from the traditional way. I look at, I mean, how do I describe it? I have a difficulty describing it. I mean, I look at it like blood flow or circulation, or what I would call financial efficiency. What is the financial alchemy that happens? Where does it happen, and is it sustainable? That I look for. So, however good story you have, if you don't have a financial efficiency model, at the end, I go back. I say that finally, financial efficiency makes for market returns. Okay. There's another way to look at life. At the end of the day, अगर कंपनी 10 रुपए पे 100 रुपए कमाने की कैपेसिटी रखती है तो मार्केट कैप बढ़ेगा। अगर 10 रुपया लेके आपका 12 रुपया बन गया 10 साल के बाद, तो कितना भी अच्छा आदमी हो, it will not make money. So there was, I remember there was a very smart bureaucrat who, when we were at during Morgan Stanley, he was a very, very smart bureaucrat, much smarter than us in this and that. We thought it'd be a good hire and so on and so forth. Ex-bureaucrat. And the chairman of the firm said that, I won't hire him for 100,000 also. I was like zapped. I said, "Kyun?" So he said, he didn't explicitly say, but it implied that just being smart and just being good is not going to be enough for you to be a rainmaker, to be a income generator, and so on and so forth. That was his basic point. And it's a point that always stuck in my brain, that just like good IQ is not enough to make you a genius, same way, just running a good business without a good financial discipline is not going to make you that much return. So you have to look for where the financial magic lies in the balance sheet. And वहाँ पे थोड़ा एक skill लगता है कि and that skill comes from not looking at numbers very too much in detail, but looking at the whether the flow is correct.
Example से explain कर सकते हो?
Example से ये explain कर सकता हूँ कि okay, समझो we were buying Hero Honda लिख रहे थे. Let's take Hero Honda. Okay. When we were buying, तभी market cap 20 रुपया 30 रुपया price था. Market cap would have been 15-20 crores or whatever, small number. And there was HPCL, there was BPCL. We could have invested in both. So IOC.
Which year was this?
This would have been 90.
Okay.
91. There was ACC, there was Coal India, there's that and the other. So now why would I buy Hero Honda and not like IOC? Because I realized one thing, कि Hero Honda अभी तो कुछ 25,000 ही motorcycles बना रहा है. But I realized कि he can go from 25,000 to 2 million scooters on internal accruals. He doesn't have to expand the equity or raise capital for that. Because fundamental economics of the business, there's sufficient surplus for it to self-fund. Whereas a refinery can generate about 0.6%, 60% of the surplus is to double its refining capacity. Those are my broad. I'm telling you these numbers just to tell you how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that these numbers are per se important, but I'm saying somewhere तो पैसा बनेगा. You have to outperform the market, right? And when will you outperform the market? When a financial you see a financial efficiency that and that will come in different forms and shapes. ऐसा नहीं है कि each will be different. But कितना भी आपका story हो, पर अगर financial alchemy उसमें नहीं है, तो उड़ेगा. Like Chinese market hasn't given you returns since 90s. अभी 30-35 साल हो गया. In that time, GDP has gone up 40 times. पैसा क्यों नहीं बना? Because big story, hard work, all that is okay. But if you don't have the market saying something, the market is either saying that there is no financial efficiency here, or the story is a scam. So we'll see what time will do. But in my view, the market is already past judgment. So if you just read the headlines, you just went to China and invent companies, you would have invested in China. And I did go to China in 98 at the height of the crisis, Asian crisis. So I went, those days the red chips were very popular in China. The PSUs of China were listed in Hong Kong and they were trading at some crazy multiples and all that. So I went to one company, which is a red chip, listed hot stock. I met the CEO. And I asked him for the balance sheet. So he gave me one page. And I said, this is your balance sheet? He said, yeah. I think I thought about, some English numbers there. I said, so tell me what your sales and profits and so on were. So I said, I made a profit of 100 million last year. So बोला कैसे? तो बोला no, I did an IPO of 100 million. तो उसके लिए तो profit लगा उसको. So he was clueless financially. Okay. So that's the first time in my life that I actually ended the meeting, and I took that same night I flew out of Shanghai. I said, देखना ही नहीं है मुझे China. अगर ये हाल है, बैलेंस शीट एक पेज, ओके, उसको आईपीओ प्रॉफिट के फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है, ओके, और मैं ये बंदर को देखो, तो बोला ये तो पूरा इट समराइजेस द मार्केट. ये थोड़ी कोई अनलिस्टेड सिचुएशन, ये तो हांगकांग में डालेंगे. In the analyst conference in Hong Kong, it was standing room only for the red chip. Okay. So I mentally said कि China कभी पैसा नहीं बनेगा. Because this mindset is so backward for it to catch up with what discipline a market requires for you to make money for yourself is light years away. He's like one light year away from coming anywhere close to making a sustainable return. Okay, the market went up and down and everything, but the last 35 years has not given you a penny. I'm not surprised.
So when you say financial efficiency, are there like some numbers also that you've defined कि ROC इतना होना चाहिए, ROE इतना होना चाहिए industry wise, or have you like set a framework for that?
Not really.
Okay.
Because you will make money when in rising ROE. Okay. So very often when you started investing, it is 20, but you see that it can easily go to 25. So Apple was also trading at $1. Okay, आप पहले ही आप क्राइटेरिया लगा दो 25 ROE चाहिए तो उसका P भी 40 होगा. तो it's a very important end goal. But starting में अगर आपको PE of 5 में ROE 25 मिलता है तो you don't need to do more homework. वो भी है, but वो chances कम है. So you have to look for situations which will evolve into that. So आप very hard criteria लगाओगे तो you'll miss the point.
Can we also discuss about your Infosys story? How did you get to know about the company? आपने फिर क्यों पैसा डाला? And then you also invested again, which when it was after 2 years when it was trading at 5 times the previous price as well. तो ये पूरा story बताओगे Infosys का?
Well, Infosys ka story begins with me myself wanting to set up a IT services company in my last year at IIT. Third, 80, 83 or 84. Third, fourth year. And so I had written one project report. जैसा chat GPT project report बनाता है ना. So I sat and wrote one report and I sent it to the Exim Bank. कि ऐसा करना है. So the director called me funnily. कि कोई भेजा है. So he said, what is the equity? आप क्या डाल रहे हो? I mean, I didn't even know what is equity. So I said, like, okay, ठीक है. So I didn't know much, so I dropped it. But I had an idea about what software services would do, can do. So this failed IPO, I mean, potentially failed IPO, came to my attention in I think IPO in 93 or 94, I forget. So I heard that the IPO was getting undersubscribed. So I met Narayan Murthy. It was very impressive. So I met him for had a long meeting. But in a way, I knew the basics of the business, which is a 50,000 rupee engineer of India will earn $50,000 in America. I mean, just to give round numbers, of course. So there is an obvious talent arbitrage. There's an obvious value arbitrage. There's an obvious wage cost arbitrage. So there was not much to think about it. And since no one was wanting to buy the thesis, I was thrilled. So we bought the 13 odd percent, I think, of the issue. So it wasn't very difficult. It was difficult because it came in an environment where services were not being valued and hard assets were being valued, replacement cost, fixed assets, none of which Infosys had or say HDFC had. So, the constant criticism of my fellow investors those days was क्या है, rented office है, employees है, वो employee नहीं आएगा, rented office का है क्या कंपनी में? बोला ओके, शायद आपको लगता है कुछ नहीं है तो ओके ठीक है, बट आई थॉट नो, वही हुआ. So I think it was pretty simple. It was not very. I was lucky that I already knew what the business was, and frankly, it doesn't require much to understand that business will make money. तो वही लिया, वही, and then, but it always happens. A stock gets cheaper when it's up 5 times. Funnily, when you buy, you're actually, the one reason why you're buying is because everyone else thinks it's risky, right? Correct है ना? तो अगर सभी लेते हैं, कुछ तो एक delta है that you've caught on, but others have not caught on. But when the stock is up 5 times, actually stocks get cheaper as they rise very often. Because this is Soros's other great thesis that prices influence fundamentals. This reflexivity idea, उसमें थोड़ा सच्चाई है. So stocks look cheaper as they go up. So the promoter of Yuken is increasing its stake every year in Yuken at 1,200.
Oh, wow.
You could have done it at 8 also. Okay. So so as prices influence fundamentals also. Because you have $1 million in the bank, you think you're a great guy. Your self-image improves. Okay. That goes to 0 and you think, yeah, मैं कुछ भी नहीं हूँ. So prices influence. So I remember I'd met I've said this before, which is I'd met the ACC managing director when the price was at par. It was 100 rupees share. So before I even sat down, he asked me, तो आया क्यों? कुछ नहीं है कंपनी. Okay. ACC was already 30, 40, 50 years old. Okay. It wasn't a startup. par में चल रहा था. बोला क्यों? बाद में जाके प्राइस हुआ 10,000. Same office, same managing director, maybe same. He forgot that I'd met him earlier. तो जाके मिला मैं उसको, बोलते हैं cheapest stock in the world, 10,000. Okay. So prices also influence fundamentals or perception of fundamentals. तो वो बड़ा अच्छा गेम है वैसे.
100 से 10,000 हो गया. ये 92 की बात है क्या?
हाँ, this would have been it was 100 at 89, 87 ऐसा कुछ होगा, 88 होगा.
But was this the same one because of the Harshad Mehta rally
हाँ
that
हाँ
had
हाँ,
happened?
वही.
Okay.
So even 10,000 was inflated, but the MD thought it was the cheapest stock. That's my point.
Yeah.
वो भूल गया कि कोई चला रहा है. समझा?
Right.
तो आपका प्राइस, आपका $1 billion मार्केट कैप हो गया तो आपका अपने आप को लगेगा कि आपका कंपनी सस्ता है and you're like a genius. तो तेरी बात ही कुछ और है. तो ऐसा होता है.
Right.
So there's a self-reinforcing loop. But that creates the opportunities in markets, na?
And Infosys, then when did you finally exit?
Well, I quit the firm before I exited.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened after that.
Okay.
But we sold a little periodically because we were guided. We had institutional constraints. No single stock can be more than, I think, 15 or 18% of a company, this, that, and the other. So we had to periodically, some of HDFC, all of that we had to pare down to stay within the concentration limits set in our by either the SEC, SEBI, or by our own internal regulations. So
you mentioned a lot of quotes by George Soros, and you've also met him in person. How was your meeting with him, and what did you learn from him?
His office was no bigger than yours.
What? Seriously?
His table was no bigger than yours. You have one extra chair in your office.
Okay.
He was sitting there, I was sitting here, there was one more chair next to me. And yeah, maybe slightly bigger. But no different. His view was also like, just no Central Park view or anything. So it was regular. Great people have great qualities. So he was. I mean, I haven't met him. I don't know him very well. I've met him only only a couple of times. But yeah.
But how was your conversation, or what did you learn from him, or maybe in that meeting ऐसे क्या सीखा आपने उनसे?
उसको देख के सीखा कि ऐसा बनना चाहिए. बनने के बाद भी ऐसा ही बैठना चाहिए ऑफिस.
Okay.
And that you should still have the humility to meet some 28-year-old who shows up in your office. Anyone can show up in your office. वो सब very often जो बोलने से सीखने में जो इंडियन कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ दर्शन होता है ना, देखने चाहिए. It's enough. The spoken word very often is I would say 30% of the game. Good 70% is what may not be spoken but understood, or the person in action. You see the person in action itself. So amazing focus, and piles and piles of books all around. I mean, like hardly any walking space. I mean, you enter that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Research reports everywhere. Yeah.
How did you get the meeting with George Soros? How was that? Like, you reached out, or how did that happen?
I have no idea actually now, but I think probably Morgan Stanley arranged it, or
okay.
I didn't know him.
Okay.
So must have been a Morgan Stanley arrangement.
And who are some other investors like George Soros you have met in US or in there, and what did you learn from them?
Well, I've met many. I would say, I'd say the ones, Julian Robertson was impressive. Many of the partners at Morgan Stanley were very impressive. I'd say. I mean, a lot of my bosses, a lot of my senior people were stupendous. So I'd say those were the noteworthy ones. I think internal within Morgan Stanley, I mean, we had a class act. I'd say, on hindsight, having seen many other companies, I'd say that we had some very bright people working there.
Have you interacted with, let's say, Warren Buffett or
No,
Bill Ackman, Peter Lynch?
No.
Big investors?
no.
And in India, who are some big investors you admire, you look up to, or of course they might be your friends as well, but
Yeah.
who are some people you learn a lot from?
See, I don't have heroes as such.
Mm.
I don't have ideals and heroes or someone. You know, you learn from all sorts of every. So I don't have any sort of best book I read, best stock I owned. You know, my role model, my guru. None of that. Life is your guru, and you know everyone. Even a watchman teaches you sometimes. Yeah.
Mm.
So ठीक है. ऐसा कोई no one on a pedestal. ऐसे वो philosophy ही नहीं है. So even, I mean, you know, you meet a lot of interesting people in India also. You know, a lot of the old market players are all good friends of mine. So they're very smart people. And the very fact that many of them have survived for 3-4 decades is also an achievement. You know. So, but I don't have this. No, I've never felt the desire to meet a Warren Buffett or anything of that sort. So, finally, a portfolio has to be an expression of your own internal thinking. You know, you can't be aping someone else's style. So very often it is better to be true to your own style and not be too distracted by someone else's style. If you want to play the guitar, stick to it. You know, I mean, that sort of thing. Right. Because it's very easy to get diluted in your own approach, and your own approach is itself is you. It's an expression of you. So, you know, and it's got nothing with, you know, so yeah. And so Warren Buffett, for instance, to give an example, it's I'm sure he's a great investor, but yeah, but there's a disconnect. I don't see I can get better by yeah. Fair. And so very often when your career, the US has had a 50-year bull market, your career intersects with the 50-year bull market. Yeah, you know, many people can look very bright. Yeah, fair. So what had happened exactly during the Taj attacks, the 26/11 attacks? I read somewhere that you were also
I
was happened to be there. Yeah,
what had happened? Can you just share the story?
Nothing. I mean, like the attack began in around 9 p.m. at night, and so on. And I escaped at 4 o'clock. So people want a dramatic story. People love to believe that, you know, I should make. I mean, this is a movie script or something. But I have a much more what do you call? Okay, the only thing becomes clear in such situation is that you can feel fear only in a movie theater. Okay, in a contrived situation. When you are in a sticky situation, there's no space for fear, because you either because that's not going to help you survive. Okay. So I think it was okay. It was, you know, it's something that I've totally forgotten about, to be honest. So I don't have much. If anything, I mean, I would say I was just angry I didn't have a gun, because it was one-way fighting. I mean, one-way firing. There was no counter firing till 4 o'clock.
Okay, so 4 you left as in 4 a.m. The
Yeah.
next, okay, so 9 p.m. the attacks happened, and you were there till 4 a.m. There. Oh.
Yeah, because you have to know the scope of the attack. Now, whether there are 20 terrorists or 2 or 3 or 4, you don't know. So you can escape and run into trouble. So in some time, it became obvious that this is not going to go on forever, and there are certain safe zones and so on. So I knew the Taj layout reasonably well. So I came out. Yeah. I think it's over. It is our own weakness that we did not counter it. Even if there were a couple of guys inside with a weapon, these guys would have run away. So I don't make it out to be such a terrifying thing or such a. It's just too bad that we were living in La La Land. That's what it is.
But then, like, everyone was able to escape at 4 a.m.
No.
What had happened?
I think people stayed then for a long time. I mean, I might have been one among the early ones to leave. Probably. I mean, there's no one. I don't know. But I think lots of people probably left after that, next day or whatever. So it almost sounds funny now. So.
But then I'm just trying to step into your shoes at that point in time. It must have been like a very scary kind of a feeling when you are hearing the gunshots all around, and then you have to find a way to leave the place so that you can save your life.
Yeah, but it's time to be rational. So you have to consciously not. You have to discard what is not working for you. You can't be a victim of something that doesn't work for you and you clutch onto it. So is fear and panic going to help you? You got to drop it. So you have to respond to a situation for what it offers. And in life, you have to learn to discard what doesn't work. So fear, nervousness, this, that, in what way does it, what way will it help you? So it's okay.
Yeah.
Market's also like that.
Yeah.
Market has an attack like this happened every time. COVID came, crisis came. So what is there? So you can panic and react in fear. It's not going to help you.
So markets is more about EQ rather than IQ, is what I get from you.
Clearly.
Like it's more about the emotional quotient.
Yes, and it's but EQ is a refined IQ is sort of EQ, because IQ is 1 plus 1 is 2, but EQ is IQ plus the real world. You see, so if one is a grade 10th exam and the other is a bachelor's exam, so in the real world, EQ is everything, I would say. I mean, how do you adapt your IQ to the real world is EQ. I mean, just being a smiling guy will also get you. It's a combination. Yes, clearly. Because in the markets, it's psychology. It's crowd behavior. So it is, finance is the excuse for crowd behavior.
How can someone develop a strong emotional quotient?
I think good investors are born and they get better. If you're not born with it, it's difficult. I know lots of smart guys, smarter than me, who know that the daily ups and downs of the market bothers them. It's just difficult for them to spend 10 years doing that. So they do something else. They do unlisted, or they do banking, investment banking, someone else's risk. You see? So they do other things. So I don't think, I think the seeds have to be born with you. I personally feel. And you can get better. But if you're not born with the seed, then you'll be uncomfortable doing it.
How can you get better?
Practice. You know, uh, exposing yourself to more and more of it. You get better with age. It's like playing a video game. So you play it, you'll get better. You'll get, and if you have if you have a learning mindset and you're willing to be self-critical, and you don't do something stupid in the process, so your risk management has to be good. So many people I knew that they got so carried away that either leverage killed them, the market volatility killed them, something killed them. So so for you to go to a bar where everything is say free or at 50% discount, and for you to have one drink and come out every day is difficult. For you to drink the whole bar is easy. Okay. So by getting better, I mean you're a good investor. But for you to have the discipline to eat only 2 chapatis today and go home, you could have eaten 20. You had the idea, you had everything, but you didn't do it just so that you're developing you're giving yourself longevity. It's like a cricket match and aapne chakka mara marna aapko, and the other guy is playing 1-1-1 and playing for 20 years. So the asymmetric outcomes, you're out, you're out. So you get better by fine tuning you might be a good cricketer, but that doesn't make you give you longevity unless you then overlay it with many born talented cricketers. But there'll be one Dhoni and there'll be one there, because with talent, then you learn by having a certain discipline that you keep building. Every profession. I'm not saying money management, but every profession is that way.
Dhoni has taught you focus, right?
Yeah, I don't know whether I've said that in the past, I don't know whether in some, I haven't have meet him once. I was with him for like, at a dinner, and there's an IPL match going on, like this television screen of yours, okay? And so you and I are sitting here with Krishnamachari Shrikant sitting there, 3 of us. So that match began, and like you're questioning, like you're questioning me. So we're just chatting. And then every time the ball would be thrown, let's assume you're Dhoni, you're like totally focused there. And ये 4 होने वाले हैं, छक्का है, साला नो बॉल है, फालतू मिड ऑफ में क्यों रखा नहीं किसको? He's just endlessly going on. Every ball, okay? And then I sat quiet. I said, I'm sitting to someone who, I mean, I was very impressed. ये बहुत ही पहुंचेला, ये talent है, but देखो discipline and interest कितना है. Every ball he had a forecast, okay, as to how it should be. That ball, as the ball left, he would say out, LBW. I mean, like insane. And 70% of the time he was right also.
Oh, wow. 70 is a lot.
He wasn't 50%. It wasn't random talk. So, and then, so I was quite taken up. And then, I said, we can leave. I mean, we don't have to sit. Match will go on. Dinner to ho gaya. But then until the last ball I want to go. Okay. So the last ball was 11:30 or something. Okay. I think we started, I don't know what, on 6:37. So he didn't want to miss one ball. Okay. So I think very highly of him. More for his true. He's a student of the game. He's a true student of the game. No wonder he has had the career that he's had. Because he's getting better with every ball. He's like, quite very talented. And it requires great discipline to be that way, I would say. He was already a star. And amazingly grounded, not affected by anything, could walk away and go to. I think he's a great guy. Great guy.
Was it Chennai Super Kings match?
Yeah, no, the match. This was in Chennai.
Oh,
This happened in the Madras club in Chennai.
okay.
And he was obviously there because it was some other team playing. That
Okay,
was
so
his
was he?
off day.
Acha, he was playing at that time.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that was the first or second or third season of the IPL. One
Oh,
of the early
okay. This is
seasons.
long back then.
Yeah,
2010.
possibly.
Okay.
This was when he was also young and he was very
Mhm.
much the rising star.
Okay.
So I don't think he was the test captain then. Maybe he was. I don't know. So he was a young kid then. So it was obvious to me that it was self-evident. But you meet great guys with self-evident. It doesn't take much to know. I remember meeting who's that? I used to know Gulshan Rai. Very impressive. He's Bollywood, one of the big Bollywood moguls. When you meet him, very impressive.
What impressed you the most?
आ जाओ बेटा बैठो. Then खजूर का पराएगा पता. Office is quarter the size of your office. Okay, biggest movie mogul who's made some 125 silver jubilees. He made Diva. There's a Trishul. Legend of legends. Okay, legend of legends. So I mean, and like in a Western movie, you have those doors that open, no? So he enters office and you're sitting there. So, I mean, so I periodically go just for time pass. For such people, you have to go with an open mind. There's no transaction. Then I remember meeting who made Bharjatya, Rajashri Productions. It made a big hit that made Salman a big. Maine Pyar Kiya was a big hit of the 90s or whatever. So he made that movie. I had gone to meet him. I thought it'd be a half an hour meeting, I sat for like 4 hours. And so his movie had just come out. It had become a super duper hit, okay? So I said, कैसे बनाया movie ये वो. So wrong question to ask a passionate guy. So he pulled up a presentation like a slide thing, okay? So he said, "ये होता है," and then he's so much into it that as the scene is coming up, he's singing the song, he's saying the dialogue. He knew everything about the movie. That's when you realize that all these guys have. You don't need to be you don't have to meet an expert in any field. There are certain common aspects to many bright guys in various. So you should make it a point to meet people outside your comfort zone. So that also helps.
I think that's like one of the most underrated things, meeting people outside your field as well and trying to learn from
No,
them.
I actively do that. I'm always interested. I know gangsters also. So I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
What do you talk to them about?
No, nothing. Not that I know of any today's gangster, okay? I'm just saying yesterday in the 80s, 90s, basically no judgment. Yeah? I mean, I'm saying just to not to. I would know police commissioners also. I might know a smuggler also. अपने को क्या फर्क पड़ता है? So each one
will teach you something, I think.
Yeah.
Like कुछ ना कुछ
you learn
तो
something.
सिखा के जाएगा.
So I remember we have this election group that would cover all elections and so on. So I think once we were in Chambal where we met some Chambal ke dacoits, no? So we met one of those dacoits who had retired, and so I said, yeah, we should meet, so a bunch of us, 15, 20 of us were there, and we met this Chambal dacoit. I'd say he was a very impressive guy in the sense that, okay, he told us why he did what he did. There was an injustice in his village and he was, he had to do it. But at the end of it, you felt that there was, interesting. I mean, you had respect for him in your own way. So, for instance, we went to the heart of the Nakshal territory in one of our Bengal trips. Jungle, where is that Jungle Mahal? There was some lot of violence there and this and that. And so we walked around the village, where which was the height of the Naxal militancy and so on and so forth. And we met a lot of the villagers. This is like 20 years ago, whatever. But you have to be open to meet all sorts of people. You should not crucify people before you even met them. Just keep an open mind. Each one has a story. At the end of the day, everyone's a human, and given their circumstances, you may have also become like that. You don't know. So you got to have empathy for humanity as such, and just keep your mind open. It just makes you a better human being. You learn something, and you see the perspectives, how the others view the world also. One shouldn't be so caught up in one's own cocoon, It helps to break your comfort zone and just, and you'd be surprised how open people are to meet.
Yeah. If you reach out in an appropriate manner,
Yeah.
and nicely, professionally, I think people are okay and
people
open
are
to
willing to, and people are always willing to talk to a youngster. I've noticed, at least in my own case.
Yeah.
I've seen that at least the previous generation always, that has been my experience, that they always make it, they always give that extra time to a youngster who shows up. So youngsters should take that. So I really not take a call of a youngster. So if a youngster wants to meet me, I'll always meet them. Because someone met me also.
Yeah.
So it's, and you learn a lot from the youngster. So it isn't that it's a one-way flow. You learn the perspective of how today's 25-year-old is thinking. And that's helpful. That's very helpful. So,
I also try to meet a lot of young people, even in the building, and even like outside my arena as well. One or two examples, if I can tell you, like I really admire these two people. One is a 18-year-old guy named Malar Manik. He's studying at U Chicago right now, and he's one of the smartest public markets investors I know of. And he basically cold emails and reaches out to a lot of people, and he's met everyone in the industry, like right from Deepak Parekh, sir of HDFC, Rhythm Desai, sir of Morgan Stanley India, MD of Morgan Stanley India, etc. And he literally like has a very specific ask in the email and gets a meeting with almost everyone. He's read more than 300 books in his entire thing, and he's like a very, very smart, voracious reader as well. So I get to learn a lot from him. And there's another guy who is running an AI startup. He started teaching AI when he was 14 years old. He used to teach to people who are employees at Microsoft and Google as well. And he was just 14. He's 18 right now. And his story is also super, super inspiring.
No, there are.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. The human creativity never dies, no? It's always there.
Exactly. Just talking about the asset allocation thing, I read in one of your past interviews, you said that you would shy away from investing in something like a gold or a real estate because the cost of borrowing would be higher than the returns that you will get in these asset classes. For a young investor who's watching this, who wants to now start investing, do you still recommend कि gold and real estate में नहीं डालना चाहिए? If that is the case, then why?
Well, valuation is created because of human activity. So why don't you go to the source, which is invest in the human being? Why do you want to go? You can go. I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm against land and gold, but if it's dirt cheap, sure. But to buy land which is like 30 times your per capita income and so on, it doesn't make sense, basically. So each one to his own. I mean, I'm not saying no, but you have uh, you have uh, you have the river Ganges flowing under your door. तो आपको टैप वाटर क्यों पीना है? वही पियो ना. तो इवन गोल्ड एंड रियल एस्टेट में भी पैसा तभी बनता है जब भी ह्यूमन एक्टिविटी होगा. As John Maynard Keynes said, that real estate is the present value of the human activity possible on it. I mean, in other words, I'm not directly quoting him. So, so would you rather invest in Infosys, or would you rather invest in the land in which Infosys is sitting, or the gold watch that Narayan Murthy is wearing? I mean, I'd rather invest in Narayan Murthy, basically. So the gold watch may also make you money. The land in which he sits also makes you money. But if you have a direct flight to Delhi, why do you want to go by Ahmedabad, Calcutta, and Yava?
But not everyone has the capability to find the.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying everyone should do what I'm saying. I'm saying go buy what. For a real estate guy, go for it. I'm not discouraging someone. But life is about making choices.
Yeah.
You can't do everything. So take the area that works for you.
Fair.
So I'm not passing judgment that. I'm just saying that I don't do it.
Fair.
But I'm not saying that someone else shouldn't do it.
And if we talk about some of the sectors at present which you would be bullish on, or some of the like themes that you are trying to bet on, what would those be?
I think services. I would bet on the Indian buddhi, if you will. I think we're getting our act together. I think the relentless Indian is being born again. So the real sector, I would say the real theme is that we were the wealthiest country in the world for 1800 years. We got looted. So for 250 years, we became bottom of the pile. And we are probably we're going back to where we were to the 18-year, 100-year average. So now then you have to do the math. I mean, that is the real theme in my scheme of things. We were 30% of world GDP. We'll probably get there. And there'll be, give it another generation or two, and Indians will find it hard to believe we were poor. So your grandchildren, maybe your children, अरे पापा साला कुछ भी बड़बड़ करता है कि गरीब था, ये था, वो था. कुछ भी सुना रहे. So like our generation remembers waiting for a phone for 10 years and 15 years. Yeah. We're the lucky generation. We've seen both sides. So you waited for bloody milk. In the morning you got up like you're watching Disney now, no? You bloody stood in line to get milk, man. Okay. So उसमें क्या है? तो the current generation finds it hard to believe एक साथ, कुछ भी, now everyone has 3 phones. So we'll go back. So we haven't seen the real, what do you call, the real Ghatotkaч and entrepreneurs. The real bloody fighters will emerge now. And it'll come from remote corners of India. It's not going to come out of South Bombay and Harvard Business School. Dekh, Dhoni is an example. That was a preview for me. We ऐसे बहुत निकलेंगे. So we've still not seen the real entrepreneurial fire of India roar out. अभी आएगा. So it's an interlude, It's a big one. I think this is all a preparation for for a historic catch up to what we were.
Yeah.
So it's already begun. Like today, like 20 years ago, if you flew business class, you knew everyone in the plane. Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, then by the 2000, it became like 70%. Today it's become zero. You won't know. There are all kinds of. It's begun. I mean, this is just a sign,
But
you see it everywhere.
there's also a lot of inequality, right? Like the poverty, and the rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer. That also is rising, right? The inequality in India.
See, that is well, I'm not so sure about that. Inequality will is a given. It will rise. I think the world will have to address it in a different way. I think we'll have to have concepts like universal basic income come in. There's no taking away from it. And so, yes, I think inequality will remain. I think we need to have a compassionate form of capitalism, not socialism, not capitalism, compassionate capitalism. I think universal basic income will have to be a given.
Yeah.
So all that is going on in the world is a sign of that. So yes, inequality is, I think, is a global issue.
Yeah.
It's not a
country-specific issue.
So I think we need to move into a taxation and a subsidy system which addresses that.
Apart from services, any other sectors, themes that you're bullish on?
I think, of course, the large consumer market, then our engineering services. I really go by the promoter, So, I think there's opportunity in many areas. But yeah, I would generally avoid the commoditized space. I would generally avoid the. See, a lot of these patterns are well established. So today, cement might be the largest market cap of only a country like Nigeria or something. It's not going to be anywhere else. Okay. So there's a well-trodden path. So if you look at the $4 trillion companies in America today, none of them is General Electric, none of them is General Mills or Unilever or any of that, Colgate and so on and so forth. So society transcends. Okay. So it transcends in the direction of human activity, in the direction of value creation, and so on. वही होगा इंडिया में भी. We're following the same pattern. We were maybe 30, 40 years behind Wall Street earlier. I think that is probably narrowing down. And that is probably down to, 10, 15 years. So the future is already in front of you. So you don't have to think far as to what will do well and not do well. The future is on us. So, and it's compressing. And you can see that in the difference between the 10-year US bond and the 10-year Indian rupee bond. It's at a 22-year low. So it seems like it's all aligning, So we won't have a disconnected story here and a disconnected story in the rest of the world or in the US, wherever. So one of the simple exercises in the world to do is to know that the future has already been written in that sense. So the pathway shown in developed countries is a good guide for developing countries. So for instance, why did we take a large stake in Honda? Because it had a 50% market share in every country in the world. So we just thought it'll catch up in India, and that's what it did. So the easy part of investing in developing countries is the story is the end of the movie is known. You start watching the movie knowing what the end is. So why do you want to अगर आपको सीधा PhD मिल रहा है, आप क्यों जाके कॉलेज में बैठे हो? So that is one of the other themes. So why was HDFC a brain dead investment? Because the same businesses existed in America. They were very large cap businesses. It didn't exist in India. So it's a good idea for an investor to look at a century trends of Japan, France, Germany. Just sit and do it. Let AI help you. Okay. And see how patterns, you'll see consistent patterns.
Any specific trends that you're seeing in other countries right now?
I think right now there's a disconnect because of the extremes of the tech valuations and everything in the US. But there are very interesting things going on at the same time. I mean, like for instance, where did I read this? The Kellogg's cereal business was bought for like $1 billion or something, or $3 billion, I think. Now that would have been totally counterintuitive. This was an FMCG business, which in 2000 you would have thought is going to become a 1% of GDP or something. It just got sold for $3 billion. Okay. So there are lots of things we need to study now. So what's happening in the social media? Like for instance, Unilever Indonesia has fallen 90%. Okay. The ITC of Indonesia, Gudang Garam, is down 90%. Okay. So I think there's something going on. There's something going on, which is that with the coming of this sort of traditional FMCG business is coming under spotlight for various reasons. I don't know what. But so all this will have impact in India. You will see the spillovers. Spillovers will happen. So that's why I'm saying that there'll be a whole generation of companies that will emerge from. Now look at our guy. What's his name? The Perplexity CEO.
Arvind Srinivas.
Arvind Srinivas. Okay, he's an IIT Madras guy. Okay. I think, he's awesome. Okay. There'll be many Arvind Srinivases in India. That's my point. Now he comes from a lower middle class background in Chennai. He's not from he's come up. He's the regular Indian who's made us all proud. But I'm saying this is what is going to happen.
One last question, which I ask all my guests. It's a tricky one. If you were in the shoes of Kushal Lodha and if you were interviewing Mr. Vinod Sethi, what is one question you would like to ask him towards the end?
Good question. So, no, I blank out.
So I win?
Yeah, you win.
No question you want to ask yourself?
No.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for doing this. I hope you had fun.
It's cool. The thought that matters. It's funny. I'll put it on my desk. It's nice.
अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आया होगा तो आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू शेयर इट विद ऑल योर फ्रेंड्स एंड सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल सो दैट वी कैन गिव यू मोर वैल्यू एडिटिव कंटेंट इन द शॉर्टेस्ट अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम. हमको ये बताइए कि आपको कौन से काइंड ऑफ गेस्ट चाहिए. हमको ये बताइए कि कौन से क्वेश्चंस मुझे नहीं पूछने चाहिए थे, कौन से क्वेश्चंस मुझे और पूछने चाहिए थे ताकि आपको और ज्यादा वैल्यू मिल सके, और कौन से ऐसे पार्ट्स है जो आपको बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं आए ताकि हम लोग ये पार्ट स्ट्रीम कर सके फ्यूचर एपिसोड्स में. सो थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन फॉर वॉचिंग दिस एपिसोड एंड कीप शेयरिंग ऑल आवर एपिसोड्स विद योर फ्रेंड्स एंड कीप गिविंग अस फीडबैक सो दैट वी कैन इंप्रूव एंड कम अप विद बेटर क्वालिटी कंटेंट.